Now, when it comes to the NFL draft, it is a crap shoot. It really is. It's a grab bag. You're never going to get everything right, no matter how much you study, no matter how much you think you know. Like, you got to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to be wrong on a number of these guys. You're going to have plenty of guys too low. You're going to have plenty of guys too high. But you'll get some things right, too. And for those that'll sit there and use that as an excuse to make fun of others, I will say, I promise you, like, you want to yak on and laugh on some of the people that do this as like a hobby or like a career, but they don't work for NFL teams. Imagine how much if you would mock NFL teams if you saw their draft boards. Yeah, I promise you. All that to say that there are certain positions I feel a little bit better about when it comes to evaluating them than others. Quarterbacks, running backs, linebackers. And how ironic, if you didn't grasp that, as a Bears fan. Of course I would know, like, the linebacker position and the running back position, because that's all that fucking organization really knows either. In terms of quarterbacks, I know what doesn't make a successful franchise quarterback, so I use that as like a baseline when I'm evaluating guys every year. And certainly have been far from perfect. I've had some notable hits, but certainly had some swings and misses too. Just like a lot of people and just like most teams would, that's for damn sure. But this tight end position is one of those ones that I struggle with. And I'm not the only one, right? Because you'll have guys that you think are going to come in, and man, it just doesn't happen. Like, you even look at, 2 years ago in the draft, Kyle Pitts. He was a 4th overall pick, and for good reason. He looked like a generational tight end prospect. And his rookie season was really promising, and then year 2, his utilization dropped to shit. And it feels like with the tight end position, it has a lot of dependencies on the system that they're in, the quarterback that they play with, the way they're utilized. A lot of these young tight ends can struggle. Like, if you'd have told me that T.J. Hockenson wouldn't even have made it through his entire rookie year in Detroit and he was going to get traded to a division rival in season, I would have called you nuts. And you thought Hockenson taking 8th overall was going to be that dude. And he just wasn't that level of dude. Right? It's crazy to me. And I go back to 2017 with Njoku and Howard. And, I had Njoku just, I think, a little bit ahead of O.J. Howard, but had both of them pretty highly rated. Thought both of them were going to be really good NFL tight ends. Just thought maybe Njoku had a little bit more star potential. Njoku certainly had the better career, but I wouldn't exactly call him a star, but O.J. Howard fucking sucked. Like, a lot of people thought that O.J. Howard was going to be great. I wasn't alone. It just points to me, how hard it is to evaluate the tight end position. So, when it comes to this position, take a lot of what I say and a lot of what others say with a grain of salt, because who fucking knows? George Kittle's a 5th-round pick, and he becomes a stud. You know what I mean? But if I was looking at the modern tight end position in the NFL and looking at the guy at college, to me, that feels like he most fits that mold in terms of as a pass catcher, it's Dalton Kincaid from Utah. That's the guy to me. He's not perfect. He's got his flaws, right? But again, talking about a position that is a bit of a crapshoot, I'm looking for projectable traits for the next level. And when I'm looking for the tight end position, you have some teams that put a way higher emphasis on blocking abilities than I do. I'm not saying it's not important at all. It's just, if you're talking about drafting a tight end in the first 2 rounds, the first thing out of your mouth shouldn't be their fucking blocking ability. If it is, you're probably not doing the draft right. But I look at Dalton Kincaid, I see a sure-handed pass catcher, and not just a pretty sure-handed pass catcher. Like, this is a dude that can make spectacular catches. He's got a really large hot catch radius. He can work back to the ball. He can go up and get it at its high point. And as a tight end, too, he's got incredible open field agility, really elite for the position. He can make defenders miss in the open field. He's not quite at the Kyle Pitts level, but he's not that far of a step back. He runs with speed and power. He's able to power through DB tackles. So you look at him and you just assume he's a finesse guy only, but he's not just a finesse guy as a receiver, as a pass catcher. He's got, what I would classify as elite quickness and speed for the position. He's really a matchup problem for linebackers and safeties. He's too quick and fast for a lot of linebackers, too big for a lot of safeties. He's got very good hands. He's able to consistently meet the football with them. I always hesitate when you're talking about taking pass catchers very high. They have a high ratio of body catches. He had a very low ratio of body catches. And he's also a great red zone threat, which you really want out of the tight end position. You want somebody with leaping ability, hands, ability to go get the ball at its highest point, win in traffic, and Dalton Kincaid can do all of that. And then you talk about his game, he looks like a 245-pound receiver because he's really sharp and crisp in and out of his breaks. He's able to create separation as a route runner. Like, watching him was a lot of fun. I was really high on this kid. And even when I was thinking about his weaknesses, I didn't see a ton of them, right? Like, he lacks ideal size for the position, but he's not a shrimp by any stretch of the imagination. He does struggle to hold up as a run blocker due to that lack of size, strength, and I think technique as well. But it's not a deal breaker to me. And again, if you're drafting a tight end high, if you're drafting him for their blocking ability first, you're not fucking doing it right. I will say, one of the things, again, with his size and kind of lack of strength and physicality right now, he needs to get a little bit better at getting off of press physical coverage, because if some linebackers or safeties or even slot corners can get up into his body, it will throw him off a little bit. More finesse than power to his game, for sure. He's also going to be a 24-year-old rookie. I think there's some concerns about his back. He's not a perfect prospect, but, in a tight end class that I look at overall and I think is pretty good, I'm saying to myself, who is the best pass-catching talent in this class? And to me, I think that's Dalton Kincaid. Now, in terms of NFL comparisons I came up with, I was thinking, and I said, hey, he kind of reminds me of Greg Olsen coming out of the U. That's who he reminds me of. Some similar profile there. I think he's even more athletic than Olsen was coming out of Miami. But, Olsen was a late first-round pick, and at the time probably should have went a little bit higher. If you remember when the Bears drafted him, I was coming off of their NFC Championship season, and for them to get him at the end of round one felt like a pretty big steal. I'll be curious to see where Kincaid goes, because he's a little bit older as a rookie. There might be a medical concern there. Concerns about his blocking ability, but as a pass catcher, man, he's just freaking dynamic. I've got to imagine somebody in between, like, the Commanders at 16 on through into the late 20s, like somebody, or early mid-20s in this draft, somebody's going to have a hankering for this dude. Maybe the Packers would at 15. Like, somebody's going to have to want this guy as a dynamic pass-catching option. I say that now, and he'll bust out and he won't do shit at the NFL level, because that seems to be how it goes with the tight end position. But if I was putting money on a guy panning out and being a high-level pass catcher from the tight end position coming out of this draft class, I'm putting my money on Dalton Kincaid.